Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the live Dattitude broadcast, the podcast. Every Friday morning, we do it here on all of our NOLA.com social media stations. We are not with Jeff Duncan this morning. Jeff will be joining us on Monday morning as we preview the Saints and the Bucks. Today, we're going to talk about LSU and Georgia, and I'm pleased to have with me LSU sideline reporter Gordy Rush and former LSU football Tiger Gordy Rush. Gordy, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Jim, you've got West Banker, too. West Banker.
Oh, that's right. We're both West Bankers.
Yeah.
You got to have the pride of the West Bank, baby.
Hey, baby. Where you at?
I don't know what kind of show you can have when you have two West Bankers together, but we're going to give it a try this morning.
That's right, baby. DiMartino's. I mean, we could hit all the hot spots tonight. Is Zinfield
Absolutely.
still open?
You know what? I don't think so.
No,
I think we put them out of business.
Yeah, we did.
They had our kind there, and then they said that's enough. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know how that rolls. But you're a De La Salle guy. I'm a Shaw guy. I'm still
Whoa,
wondering.
Whoa, Jesuit.
Oh, Jesuit. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. I got you and Jordy. I can't get the Jordy thing.
That's all right. No, Holberg went to De La Salle. We're good.
All right, Gordy. We're talking this morning about LSU. I am still amazed as we go into this thing. I know that some Tigers fans are disappointed about what happened last week. But when you talk about going into the season, and especially after the Florida State game and the disappointing loss that was in the Dome, the transformation of this team, and it just goes to show what kind of coach Brian Kelly is. The transformation of this team from where they were in August and early September to now it's nothing short of amazing.
No, look, he's my SEC Coach of the Year, and look, I know that Kirby Smart's done a great job, and Josh Heupel up at Tennessee. But when you think about that, he had 39 scholarship people. This program did for the Houston Bowl last year, the Texas Bowl, and the job that he's done in the transfer portal and to put together a team and kind of like a Rubik's cube. I mean, all season long, twisting and turning to find out offensively. What was the best way, really, to design an offense around Jaden Daniels' skill set? And I think they started with a lot of play-action pocket stuff and with a brand-new offensive line, and gradually found out they wanted to be a design quarterback run team, a lot of zone reads that forced defenses to back up. And they added the short passing game to the receivers, and to see them evolve offensively to the point that Jaden Daniels was the SEC Offensive Player of the Week against Ole Miss and Alabama. I think it's been a phenomenal coaching job. And on the other side, Matt House, really did a nice job with a whole new secondary. And then
really did. Probably
more importantly, finding a place to put Harold Perkins Jr. in at nickelback. He was the backup to B.J. Ojolari. He's a true freshman that was really limited in his knowledge of the defense, and they found a way to get him on the field. This has been one hell of a coaching job to go 9-3 and playing for an SEC title tomorrow.
There's no question about it. Jim Derry along with Gordy Rush here this morning on Friday. We're taking your comments and questions. You can put them in on the Twitter and the Facebook. Not Twitter, on the Facebook and the YouTube feeds. If you're on Twitter, you can message me at Jim Derry Jr. I'd be glad to read them on the air. We'll show your comments on the air if you put them on YouTube and on Facebook. Gordy, I wanted to ask you, the number one question I have is, you've been on the sideline, you've been as close to the action as anyone. What has been the biggest difference that you've seen from this team, from that brutal Sunday night in the Dome, that brutal finish, I guess, from then until now? What has transformed this team?
Well, I mean, there have been a couple things. Obviously, I think Brian Kelly got them to buy into his system. I mean, the attention to detail is fantastic. And I think physically, the way that they practice, Jim, they practice shorter than most teams I've been around, but it's much more intense. Team periods, they run plays back to back to back. The conditioning that they go through and the attention to detail and taking care of bodies, recovery, lots of bands, yoga, new age stuff. I mean, this is a very, very healthy football team as well, too, and they play very well in the second quarter. I mean, I think that's some of it. And I think finally offensively for that Florida game, after really just sputtering offensively, before the Florida game, they had a all folks kind of team meeting without any coaches, just the players only. And once they started getting the ball to the wide receivers, Neighbors, Booty, Brian Thomas Jr., those guys, it's the best position group probably on the football team. And they were also the most vocal and the leaders in the locker room. And I think once they started feeding those guys, they got involved, they got excited, and the team played with a little swagger. And those are things that jumped out at me. And when that offense exploded for that 3-game stretch over Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama, they were really rolling. And so how do they recapture that rhythm and confidence they had on offense against Georgia tomorrow night?
What kind of team is this on the sideline during a game compared to some of the other ones you've seen? How would you compare them to the 2019 team? How would you compare them to, Coach Ogeron, Coach Miles's teams?
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference?
Well, I mean, a 2019 team was rare air, right? I mean, that sort of talent. I think from a coaching aspect, he's just really, really disciplined, attention to detail. Not that Miles or Ogeron's teams were not. It's just, Brian Kelly could easily be a CEO of a major corporation.
Right.
He's big on time management, the way that he runs it. And there's a rhyme and reason for everything they do. I mean, when after the game, the buses leave on time, right?
Right.
They blow a foghorn. They're like, get on the bus. You got 5 minutes. And so, that's what's different about it. It has some similarities to the way that Nick Saban kind of ran his program. It's been fun to watch.
Is it one of those, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late kind of things?
Oh, and there's no doubt. I mean, there were rumors that, there were people booted off the program that were late to meetings, right? And so he's big on, there's a certain way that you do things. Our pregame interview, we record on Monday after his press conference, because he values his time and what he wants to do before a football game. I respect that, right? That's the way you want to do it. And he gives a great interview. And that's what works. There's a rhyme and reason for everything that he does.
Jaden Daniels, another guy. He kind of encapsulates the whole LSU team. If you ask me, you talk about transformation and a guy who just obviously bought into the system, but a guy that has improved so much from game 1 to game 12. It's hard to believe how much better he has played throughout the course of the season.
Yeah.
And I think once he believed, obviously, he was a different kind of player. And he's been fantastic, especially the last 7-8 games.
Yeah, he's you throw that Arkansas game out, he's really had a good stretch. And I think some of it also, Jim, like I said, I think they found out what he does well, right? They want to get him off to a good start throwing the football and get some confidence going. They like to take a shot down the football field. The design runs, he's obviously really comfortable doing that a little bit. I think it's interesting is that both Arkansas and Texas A&M, everybody's found a way to try and defend him. You see a lot of 3-man fronts, and they're putting a spy on him, or having the linebackers rotate and key on him. And they're really setting the edge, the wide edge with the nickel and outside linebacker a little bit wider, trying to, by alignment, discourage LSU from running boots and designed runs outside, and kind of inviting them to run between the tackles. And so they had better success against A&M than they did against Arkansas. And I expect Georgia to do the same thing. So like anything in the SEC, you have incredible coaches. People are going to adapt to what you're doing now. I think it's LSU's turn to adapt to what defenses have done to them.
Jim Derry along with Gordy Rush here on Dattitude this Friday morning. Again, if you're just joining us and you're wondering where Jeff Duncan is, as he is here every Friday morning, we're going to do our Saints preview show on Monday. This game obviously takes precedence. Also, we don't want to forget about Tulane. Tulane playing Central Florida in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. They're playing at the same time. So if you don't have 2 TVs, it's going to be tough to do, tough to follow. But I know the New Orleanians and South Louisiana people will find a way, as they always do, to to catch up on what's going on with both. We got a question from Barry. Barry asked, what's the one big thing that the Tigers must do to keep this game close offensively and defensively?
Yeah, I mean, for me, offensively, it's Jane Daniels getting him into a rhythm, and getting him off to a good start. He got off to a slow start against Tennessee. They got into a hole, and it became a problem. He got off to a good start against Alabama and Ole Miss, and they got rolling. Defensively, to me, it's going to be stop the run, especially after the Texas A&M game where they ran A-Chain ran for 215 yards.
Yeah.
Texas A&M gashed them. Georgia's going to try and run with a better running back. Well, arguable. A-Chain's fantastic. Better offensive line, better quarterback, better people, just better football team. They're going to try and do some of the same stuff Texas A&M did.
I know it's hard to compare a college quarterback to someone that's going to be in the Hall of Fame in 4 years, but Stetson Bennett, to me, just he has so many Drew Brees-like qualities. I mean, I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL, if he even makes it in the NFL, but to me, watching him, he just has, over the past year and a half, he's grown so much, and during that national championship run, he seems to me like he's really grown into his role. And could really be that kind of quarterback in the next level, I think.
Yeah, it'd be interesting how he projects at the next level. Todd Monk is the offensive coordinator there. He was here for a little bit. Nothing for respect for him. I think that he understands what they're trying to get done there. They're a run team, play action pass. They have 3 tight ends that they throw the football to that are among their top
a giant.
Yeah, 167. And then he's very capable. He's a good enough athlete to make some plays with his feet. And so I think one of the big things that Georgia was able to do that a lot of programs did not this year was continuity, right? I mean, Alabama had to hit the transfer portal. I mean, LSU's here with 16 new people or whatever it was in the transfer portal and playing a lot of true freshmen, 4 true freshmen playing real big roles, starting roles on this football team. Georgia, even though Georgia lost 15 people to the NFL draft, didn't take anybody in the transfer portal, and really speaks to the continuity. And I think that's why you see an Alabama lead the SEC or among the worst, I should say, in most penalties. They hadn't been with Nick Saban for 2-3 years, right? To understand the Alabama way. All these people have been in the Georgia program, and you're able to coach people more than 1 year, and you get that consistency. And Bennett's a part of it. You have the same coordinator, same guys. They know what you expect out of you. This is the way that we do business, and he looks like it.
What do you look for? To me, the key is LSU's offensive line, another area that, I mean, you talk about from day one, from the Florida State game to now, is they have improved, maybe even more than Jaden Daniels. It's amazing how much they've improved. To me, the key is the LSU offensive line against that incredible Georgia defensive front, which to me is the best in the nation.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can certainly that's going to be a challenge. I mean, LSU's got 2 true freshmen, a second-year player, a sophomore at offensive guard, a lot of new people there. And they're going against probably the best defense that they've faced. But I still go back to Jaden. I mean, getting Jaden in a rhythm. I've seen it. I've seen it too many times. I've seen him get off the sluggish starts at Auburn, at Mississippi State, against Florida State, against Arkansas. Just getting him in a rhythm, comfortable and moving, and the whole offense goes with him, right? And so, you're never one-dimensional on anyone. And so I think getting him established, to me, is the biggest key offensively.
We saw Jaden Daniels at the end of the Texas A&M game, and towards the end of the game, get injured. There was talk early in the week of whether he would be able to play. I think there's a 98% chance that he's going to.
I think he's going to play, right? What percentage is he going to be? I don't know. They showed the picture yesterday of he and Nussmeier out there taking reps, and you could tell his right ankle had tape over the top, and so we'll see what percentage he's going to be, but I absolutely believe he's going to play.
How much does that change the LSU game plan, do you think? Obviously, we're not in the room, so we won't know for sure till we get in there. But just from saying what you've been saying and judging. I mean, if Jaden Daniels can't run, that's obviously takes a big part of away
huge
from his game plan.
Yeah, I mean, Nussmeier, he's athletic. He's more of a throwing type of guy. But, it changes the way if I'm a defense, I'm going to go back to what Florida State did. If Nussmeier is a quarterback, you're going to see a lot of bear fronts, they're going to bring everybody up, and they're going to test that offensive line and bring pressure and play man to man and make Nussmeier and the offensive line hold up and Nussmeier beat him from the pocket or beat him throwing the football. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Daniels is defensive coordinators got frustrated with Daniels' ability to make plays with his feet, the 20 and 25-yard runs in which he was able to break, whether designed or he was able to scramble for them, what it forced teams to back up and eventually get in the defense that we've talked about. Everybody playing an umbrella, keeping the ball in front of them, and we're going to stay wide and force you inside. We're not going to let Daniels just get into running the football and turning this into sandlot football and beating us.
Got about 7 to 10 minutes left with Gordy here. If you want to either make a prediction, you're more than welcome to in the comment section. We'll show them here. If you got a question or a comment, like Keith Rodriguez is saying, go LSU Tigers. I think a lot of us feel that way this weekend. Look, I'm an alum. I went to LSU. You played football. I was in the Golden Band from Tigerland, so it was fun times back in the mid to late 80s. But that doesn't leave you. The purple and gold never leaves you, right, Gordy?
No, and that's a fun part of what I did get a chance to be on the field for those games and be a part of SEC football, and I enjoy that. So yeah, definitely, it doesn't leave you, and you look forward to this part of the year. It just goes by so quick. Yeah. Summer crawls around here, and then you get the football season, and boom, look up, it's Christmas.
We're too old to be playing contact sports, but do you ever get the urge being on the sideline? Do you ever does the old days ever come creeping in while you're standing out there?
No, I'm done. No, I've had too many pulled hamstrings, pulled drill. I'm good. We're good.
Walking to the dinner table, right?
I mean, look, yeah. I was playing flag football when I was 41 and tore my calf muscle. That was a 3-month rehab, and Jack Marucci, who at the time was the LSU trainer, he's still on staff there. All the new technology, and they're scraping and say, hey, let me give you some advice. Yeah, he said, quit. Just quit. Quit. I'm tired of seeing you. So I took his advice.
Yeah, I was playing softball regularly, like a fairly competitive softball. And we were a pretty good team. And I started feeling my age. Katrina hit. I was 37. And, maybe if there's any little good thing, I met my wife right after Katrina, and I quit playing any kind of sports after Katrina. I almost tore my knee up sliding in home. But we didn't play anymore after that. Katrina was the end of my athletic experience. But look, we still miss being out there and doing anything we can, right? I mean, now we're just spectators.
Yeah, no. I think not only that, and then I have kids. I have 3 kids, all of them play sports, so kind of live through them now.
All right, it's time to start looking about, I'm not going to ask you for a score.
Yeah.
But how do you see this game going? Again, you talk about,
right.
There's so many. I'm not sure how LSU is going to react after the disappointment last week. I kind of have a feeling they're going to react in a positive way. I think in a ways it could be good, but at the same time, this Georgia team, to me, when they want to turn it on, they are by far the best team in the country.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Michigan is a good football team as well too. So I saw that game against Ohio State, at least a replay of it. For me, I think LSU will come to play. Brian and Kelly will have them to play, and it's hard not for the switch to go on when you go play on the road. It's going to be a road game. It'll be 70-30 Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that the X factor is how close to 100% is Daniels, is Josh Williams, the tailback, and then Bernard Converse, the cornerback. He's important because they had to move Jay Ward, the nickel back, out the corner, and it had a domino effect on him. I think getting some key people back healthy and Daniels being the most important of it. look, Georgia's whatever they are, 17-point favorite for a reason there. But Bama was as well too. And so, LSU's capable of putting together that sort of game that they did against Alabama. But it's a tall order. There's no question. It's a tall order, and Georgia's a very good football team. But we'll see. We'll see how they play the game. I think it's LSU's got to have that sort of Alabama effort to get there.
Do you think that obviously beating Alabama gives you a lot of confidence? Do you think that they come into this game with that same kind of swag? And
I think so. I mean, look, you're playing a little bit with your 18-point underdog. I mean, you come with a little chip on your shoulder. I think that they're going to be a little ticked off about the performance at Texas A&M, and you got a chance to play for an SEC title, right? For Georgia, they want to win an SEC title. They're in the college football playoff, win or lose.
Right.
So I think with LSU playing a little bit of house money, they ought to have a good approach to it.
Also, Gordy, I think that, and I've kind of said this the last 6 weeks or so, but a lot of these guys that are on this team, they're all going to be here again next year. I think that playing in this game, no matter what happens, the experience of playing in it can only help them going into next year.
It's crazy time, obviously, with the transfer portal, but you would think that yes, the majority of the people are going to be back, and they played a lot of young people. I believe Daniels is going to be back, should come back.
Yeah.
I think he can get stronger, get bigger. A year with a second offensive coordinator, something that he has not had really in his collegiate career, I think would be beneficial. And if he does come back, and then Kelly's able to go help, go get running backs.
Right.
They need more defensive linemen. They're going to need starting cornerbacks. They're going to lose a lot of those people. And if he's able to supplement a good recruiting class with some key additions in the transfer portal, this LSU team should be top 10 next season if the people do so. So it's a great experience. And Brian Kelly's way ahead of schedule from what he inherited. Be playing again for an SEC championship against some, I had some nice wins. People don't give him credit for the Mississippi State win.
Yeah,
Mississippi State's a good football team, right? I mean, they really did a nice job of beating up on Mississippi State in the second half. This was a nice year for Brian Kelly.
What does all this mean for Walker Howard? Obviously, he's probably chomping at the bit to get in there. He probably didn't. He probably obviously expected not to play this year, but he's got to be ready to go. But sitting on the bench and watching can only help him, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's no question. I think going through what his dad Jamie did, I'm not sure I think they were happy, content with coming in and redshirting this year.
Yeah.
And so it's a good year for him to learn. If Daniels comes back next year, what I'll tell you is we've seen enough of Jayden Daniels' style in this day and age with a dual threat quarterback. You're a play from being the guy. I mean, that's a cliche, but even more so. I mean, the quarterback today is more at risk of getting knocked out than they have been in the past. So, I think Walker Howard's going to have his time, and I think he's going to be a fine quarterback.
And lastly, before I want to ask you one quick question that doesn't have to do with LSU, but I think that if you look at 2019, and it's hard to compare teams, but you look at the 2018 team and how I don't think anyone would have thought in 2018 that Joe Burrow would have turned into what he turned into, and that entire team, the transformation of that process. I know this sounds crazy, but I think this LSU team, from this whole experience that we talked about, going from 2018 to 2019, I think it could be a similar thing. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship next year, but hey, I mean, we've seen if this team can improve that much in this 1 year, what can they do in 2023?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's go back to 2018. Especially, and I told the story after the open date, and you saw, I think, Steve Ensminger start putting in some zone read concepts and things that Joe Burrow was more comfortable with. I felt like after that year, especially, I forget the non-conference game they played before A&M. The A&M was a 7-touchdown game where he tore A&M apart.
Right.
And he had a great game against Central Florida in the Fiesta Bowl. I thought Burrow would be an NFL quarterback.
You did.
Yeah, I think he would be what he is? No. And of course, he got healthy too. I mean, he had the off-season surgery. He wasn't healthy when he came from Ohio State, and then bringing and watching Joe Brady and what they did over the summer, you could see where that program was going. Did I think they were going to run the table and do that? I did not. I'm with you. I think that a lot of the pieces are there. If you're able to keep your guys here, which is a little bit different, right?
Right, much different.
You got to be able to keep your guys here, and now you can go more than 25. You get your 25 high school kids and go supplement. We know he's already low on numbers because he never got up to the scholarship limit this year. I think it's a golden opportunity for them to be really, really good. One guy, everybody who's going to lose in this conference. I mean, for who would have A&M was preseason 6, and they're one of 2 teams in the league that didn't get to a bowl game.
Right.
Right. And Hugh Freeze is a hell of a football coach at Auburn. You got a difference that it is now in the SEC than it was when Les Miles was here is Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Arkansas are all really, really good. And there's no easy wins in the SEC West. And so talent-wise, I think they're going to be outstanding. You still got to play the schedule.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, I loved what I heard earlier this week. Brian Kelly was asked about the difference between Notre Dame and LSU. And you and I think both feel the same way about this. It's the in-state recruiting here in Louisiana. And he realizes the talent that is here in Louisiana. And
Right.
You got to get these kids to stay. And the fact that he realizes and talks about it openly is a great sign to me. Because if you can get the best kids in Louisiana to stay here, you're going to be good anyway.
Yeah, sales is a face-to-face business, right?
Yeah.
And, I remember seeing Bo Pelini when he was a head coach in Nebraska. And the problem was he and his staff spent so much time in an airplane, right? Even with technology
That's
where
right.
it is today, it's just not the same. And to have this many prospects arm distance away from you, right? To be able to have this fertile recruiting place and still be able to have a national brand to go do that, where, in South Bend, Indiana doesn't have a great talent. And Chicago's not known for putting out elite people. Ohio's probably the richest state, which is on the other side. And then it's absolute war to get into
Right.
Ohio. Right. So, yeah, the look for him, I get why he came here, right? He wanted to play among the best, get the best players, have the best facilities and all that. No slight to Notre Dame. And the recruiting pool is definitely different.
You're going to see some of them tonight, University and Dunham.
Yeah.
Get some of those kids to stay in Louisiana and wear purple and gold next year.
Yeah, wow. I hate and look, Jaden Osbury's going to Notre Dame.
Yes.
It breaks my heart. I understand why. Keelan Moses is a sophomore.
He's
very
incredible.
well might be the best player in the country in 2 years.
There's no question. After seeing him last week and what we had the pleasure of working together last week and doing the Newman University game. Sad that it was Arch Manning's last game, but at the same time, my eyes were open to University, and the Cubs are just. I don't see. Look, I got you going to that game. I'm going to the other Division III game. I got St. Charles and Notre Dame tonight, but I gotta be honest. I don't know that anyone can beat this U High team.
We'll see. Neil Weiner's done a nice job.
No doubt.
Over at Dunham. Matt House, his son, is the quarterback and is a dual threat guy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he transferred in, and it's kind of funny. They reached out to U High, but U High had Blake Abney, so they wound up going over to Dunham. He's done an incredible job. They lost their first game to Parkview Baptist, their first game of the season, and they've rolled off. Haven't lost since then. U High is a unique situation being on that school, and the enrollment is what it is, and I get the enrollment. But they're playing with different athletes than what Newman was. And I'm thinking, you heard me, I God bless the people. People just want to critique the Mannings. Arch Manning is everything he's made up to be.
100%.
He's what a prospect. He was quicker than I thought he was, much more athletic. He did everything possible. Really impressed with him. He is as advertised. I look forward to seeing him play. is hopefully not when Texas plays LSU.
Yeah, no kidding. You said in the beginning of that game too. Like I think it was like 2 carries in. You said Arch is going to have to be the leading rusher for this team, and he ended up doing it. It just goes to show. I mean, look, Newman's offensive line couldn't handle U-High's defensive front. It is what it is. But I think Arch showed that he didn't have time. He realized, and Nelson Stewart realized as well that he was going to have to run, and he did. Yeah. He rushed for 75 or so yards and did what he had to do.
Yeah, look, I mean, and then the tight end was out, and
exactly.
I didn't get a chance to see him play, but they said
and one of the top receivers was out too.
Yeah, and so, but high school football's fun, man. And
it is.
You can stick around here and fly up to Atlanta Saturday morning. So a lot of big games. Catholic plays John Curtis up here in Baton Rouge. Know both the folks in those programs, so it's a fun time of year.
Also, to me, I know the Dome is special, and it's definitely special for these kids. But for me, my most fun week of the high school football season is week 14 because it is the last week of the year where they're playing on a home field and they're playing in these little places. I'm going to Laplace, and there's you could probably only seat a couple thousand in that little stadium. And to me, that's what high school football is all about. I wish they would play state championship games at Yeoman. I think it would be more of a tighter, real high school effect. You could fit everybody that wanted to go. But to me, this is the most fun week of high school football. It's the challenge of getting to the Dome.
No, it's a great weekend. You talk about St. Charles, and I played for Frank Monica and Wayne's son-in-law, and I always go speak to their quarterback club once a year. But you think about what those people went through in the hurricane, and then for them to finally win a state championship under Wayne last year and beat Lafayette Christian. And they're still rebuilding down there, and that includes that campus and that stadium. How special is it for them to have this game on their campus against, Louis Cook and legendary Notre Dame?
No doubt about that.
I wish there were more games. It wouldn't be just all at the same time. I'd love to see a couple of them.
We had Wayne on this show about this time last year, and he told the poignant story. And Wayne's not a very open guy. I mean, it's hard to get him to talk about things sometimes, but man, he really opened up. And anybody who's listening, go back and find that one. I don't remember what number it was, but it was about this time last year. And the story that Wayne Stein told about his team and all over the place and having to rebuild their, rebuild their homes while they were going to football practice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, I drove in there last year with all the blue roofs, and Frank Monica couldn't make it because his house, he was waiting on a contractor and all the above. For them to go through that and go beat Lafayette Christian. I mean, Lafayette Christian athletically is on par with what U-High has, right? And some of the people that they put. I mean, it's a tremendous story.
It really is. But before I let you go, I know you follow the world of football. I want to get your thoughts real quick. Tulane UCF in the AAC championship game. Tulane playing against the team that they lost to a few weeks ago at home. They get him again. We don't know the health of John Reese Plumlee for UCF. It's kind of the same situation as Jaden Daniels. What do you think about that game?
Well, I saw it's tough to beat people twice. And then, John Reese Plumlee, we're familiar with in 2019. Yeah. He was a quarterback at Ole Miss.
That's right.
I mean, Joe Burrow, this was a score, I forget, 70-60 or whatever the hell the game was. I mean, it was 29 degrees and can we just go home? I think the world of Gus Malzahn and what he does, but if Plumlee's not healthy, that's a curveball there. And it's so hard to beat somebody twice in a year. And you got to believe with Willie Stain, the momentum, right, is in Tulane's favor. My dad played at Tulane. I grew up watching Tulane roll wave.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. So you got Green Wave and Tigers in your family. That's rare. No, I mean, when we were growing up, it was a big deal.
No, I grew up a Tulane fan, right? I mean, I came to Tiger Stadium and pulled for Tulane. So.
Well, you had all the colors. You had blue and white. You had green and white. You had purple and gold. I mean, I guess black and gold.
It's another big, another thing where I get crapped on this week is that, my freshman year I played at Purdue. Purdue's playing Michigan in the Big Ten.
Oh man, that would be fun if the Boilermakers could find a way to get that done.
Huh?
That would be a lot of fun.
Well,
Because what would the committee do? They'd be in a world of hurt. I hate these opinion things, and you gotta. I just like when there's chaos and who you got.
I do too. I do too. And just to see, it's not fair. 12 playoffs.
Exactly. Well,
Just
you could have 80. It's like college basketball. You have 64. Somebody's saying it's not fair. It doesn't matter whether you have 2, 12, or 60. It doesn't make a difference. Someone's going to say it's not fair.
Yeah, and what changes. I mean, you come back and ask me about LSU, Georgia. I mean, Georgia's an 18-point favorite, right? And we saw
right.
how LSU played as the 10.5-point favorite last week at College Station. I hope they're reading that line. Michigan's double-digit point favorite over Purdue. That game up at Indianapolis. We'll see.
I think it's going to be just a fun weekend. Some great championship games. TCU, Kansas State. Looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to USC, Utah. That's tonight, so I'm going to have to record it. I know someone's going to tell me what happened, but I'm still going to record it, and I'll watch it later. Gordy Rush, thank you so much. Enjoy tonight. Have a safe trip to Atlanta tomorrow morning, and we can't wait to listen to you on the air.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon. And that is going to do it for this live portion of Dattitude. Again, as always, you can catch my monologue and my post-game script on the show this morning when I post it. Uncle Big Nick is ill. He will not be able to come on, but we're going to have our regular pick segment. I'm going to read his picks on the show, and you come catch it wherever you catch your major podcast. Just search for Dattitude. And Monday morning, a special live Dattitude at 9:15 a.m. with Jeff Duncan as we talk Saints Bucks. We thank Gordy Rush for being a part of it this morning, and we'll see you on Monday. Adios, everybody.